Welcome to the Fibromyalgia Podcast. I'm Tammy Stackelhouse, fibromyalgia coach, author, and founder of the International Fibromyalgia Coaching Institute. The goal of this podcast is to empower you with access to the dream team of experts and coaches I've discovered are key to living the fibro life you love. From the comfort of your own home, and maybe even your pajamas, I'll help you take back control of your life and health. To help out with fibro fog, I always include full show notes and additional resources at fibromyalgiapodcast.com. Welcome to the Fibromyalgia Podcast. I'm your coach, Tammy Stackelhouse, and this is episode 181. Today's episode is part of Podcasthon, a global podcast event where shows around the world highlight nonprofits making a difference. We are shining a light on a program from the U.S. Pain Foundation called Pediatric Pain Warriors. This program supports families whose children are living with chronic pain conditions, like fibromyalgia, helping them to find education, connection, and community. One of the programs they offer is a family camp, where families navigating chronic pain spend time with others who truly understand what life with these conditions is like. My guest today, Ann Garner, attended pain camp with her daughter, Lily, and both Ann and Lily live with fibromyalgia. So this experience was deeply personal for their family, and the camp ended up being life-changing, really, I think, for both of them. Ann has lived with fibromyalgia for more than 25 years and is a certified fibromyalgia coach, where she helps other fibro moms reduce pain and build lives that work with their bodies. She's also a single mom raising a teen with fibro and ME/CFS, so she understands firsthand the challenges families face when chronic illness enters the picture. Ann, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Tammy.
So let's start actually with Lily, since we are focusing on the pediatric pain warriors. We'll start with her. When did you first start to think she might be dealing with fibromyalgia too?
Well, that actually goes back to she was 8 years old and she had gotten mono, and it had started first with fatigue. It was very, very severe. She had missed quite a bit of school. And then along with that, I could tell that we were having some issues with pain. And we've had a long, long, long road that we've been on at this point. So.
She turns 16 tomorrow?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's 8 years. That's longer than a lot of adults listening to this with fibromyalgia have been dealing with things. So yeah, that's been quite a road.
It's very isolating, and it's very difficult because you don't know anybody else that is going through a similar adventure, we'll say, the journey.
Now, you have fibromyalgia yourself. So as a mom, what was that like for you to see your kiddo sick and to think that she might also have what you have?
Almost. I try not to dwell on it too much. It's pretty much been devastating, honestly, because I've seen this coming. Originally, they wouldn't diagnose her because they didn't want, I'm going to use the little quote, they didn't want to give her that label at the age of 10. And finally, at the age of 12, she was diagnosed with fibromyalgia. So she has like a long list of things, but she has another chronic pain condition. Well, more than one, but then finally it turned into fibromyalgia. It was all along, but finally we got the title that it needed to be. So.
Right. And for you listening, if you're not aware, you are 8 times more likely to develop fibromyalgia if you have a first-degree relative. So Lily, having a mom with fibromyalgia, was definitely more likely to develop that. Definitely not something that you want to pass on to your kids, but also important to know that, right?
Yeah, it is. Well, and when I had fibro 10 years before I was even married and, before she was around it, we didn't really know as much as we do now.
So, how did you first hear about the Pediatric Pain Warriors program?
That whole story is actually kind of interesting. We were getting ready to go to Washington, D.C. Lily was invited to be a fibromyalgia advocate in Washington, D.C., and that was 2 years ago. And right before we went, the gal that invited us was actually a graduate with you. And she's the one that she was like, hey, have you heard about this camp? And there's this U.S. Pain Foundation. And I'm like, okay, U.S. Pain Foundation, looking it up. It's a pediatric pain warrior program. And I'm looking at it a little bit. And I'm like, okay, well, here's the application. And okay, I got to get it in right away because we're leaving for DC. And I got it in right before we left, came back, and we were accepted. And then I'm trying to, figure out what is this? And
So you were accepted before you really even knew what you'd applied for.
kind of, well, I mean, I knew what it was, but more just kind of like, I think, in shock, because I've been looking for stuff for years to try and help my daughter with things. And 6 years later, you find something that you can actually do to help your daughter.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it takes time to find these things. And I think part of the problem, we'll talk about this a little bit more later, but I think part of the problem is people don't think that kids could have pain like this. So there aren't a lot of options out there.
Well, and that's the other thing is, there was so many medical professionals that didn't believe it, didn't, like, oh, she just doesn't want to go to school and blah, blah. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. My kid wants to go to school. She's, and, because I would give her Tylenol, like, she'd get really kind of ornery and not doing very well. And I'd give her Tylenol. And about a half hour later, she's like, do, 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 just being a happy little kid again. And so, I mean, obviously there's pain there somewhere. And, getting somebody to listen. And I've learned how to advocate for myself, for her, and also U.S. Pain Foundation. They have some advocacy training and stuff as well. And that has helped me even help her more, getting more of what she needs and finding other things. And we have a big community now, where before it was just it kind of felt like it was like her and I against the world, trying to find a medical provider to help, and found one in Minnesota. And, it was a lot.
Yeah. 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 So for the folks listening who might be thinking about this as an option for their own kiddos, how did that process work? You had to apply and you had to be accepted, right? It wasn't just a pay your money and go kind of a thing.
Yeah. So basically what it is U.S. Pain Foundation. They put on this pediatric pain warrior family camp. It's in San Antonio, Texas, every year in the summer. The person that started it, her name was Casey Cashman, and she's amazing. Her family's amazing. And her son, Tyler, was the one that he had seen these other kids that were in pain and stuff, and they didn't have a place for them. And so they created this camp for these kids. And it's free for the families. So there's so many amazing people and foundations that donate money, so families like mine can go to camp for a week. So it's paid. You have to pay for your own travel and whatnot to get there and stuff. But I mean, you're there for a full week, and the experience I can hardly even put into words, because you're all alone when you go there, and when you leave, you have this family. So I have this family of other moms. There's other, moms and dads, whatever. But a lot of her friends, I got to know the moms and stuff. And then, so you're supporting one another. And then the kids after camp, the girls have been, they text each other, and it's just been an amazing experience. I mean, there's people that are donating their time to do all this, and the staff at U.S. Pain Foundation, phenomenal. It's just almost unbelievable that people like this exist. I'm going to call them angels. So Because you go to camp and I cry. I mean, I cried because I'm just like, here's my kid. My kid's found friends like her, and they're not judging her because sometimes she needs a wheelchair and sometimes she doesn't need a wheelchair. And there's other kids just like her, you know? And they all have chronic pain. And that's the hard thing, that these kids have to suffer through this.
That's right. That's right. Now, when you applied and decided to go to family camp, did you have any idea that it would turn out like that? Or were you worried, for instance, maybe that the kids would be nice to your daughter?
I think, well, we did do a couple of Zoom meetings, so we did get to meet, the families before we went. So, I mean, we had a little bit of an idea. But yeah, of course, your kid, my kid got made fun of at church, for goodness sakes, at church. You don't know what to expect, but then you find all these families that are just going through the same thing that you are. And that's the magic of it, is we're each other's support. I have a couple friends that I message weekly, whatever, but I have one particular friend, one of the moms and we message almost every day. And I know the girls, there's a couple different groups that my daughter is friends with, a couple different groups, but they message each other when things are going on or they need something or, yeah, no, I had no idea it's like magical,
Yes, yes, absolutely. So take us to that moment that you arrived at camp. If you can imagine, like when you very first got there and you looked around at what was going on, what stood out to you?
I think honestly, the first thing is the staff, the U.S. Pain Foundation staff, because, basically, yeah, the Uber drops you off and there's people that takes all your bags and stuff and brings them down to your cabin, and you walk in and everybody's just so welcoming and just, like, go over here and, sign up and here's a packet that explains everything and what you're going to be doing. And I think that's the biggest thing. Like I said, these guys are just amazing. The thing is, it's like, like every other nonprofit, everybody needs to do fundraising to help. There's no other way to get these families to camp. I might be wrong, but I'm almost thinking there was like 50 families last year. So we're on year 2. This year will be year 3 that we'll apply for. There's people from all over the country. There's a lot of people that live in Texas, but I mean, there's people from all over the country. I've met, people in Chicago, Minnesota, Kansas City. I'm in South Dakota, so I mean, they're all over the place, and we're all traveling down to Texas for camp.
Right, right. And they're not charging you for it, but that does mean somebody has to pay, which is a huge reason why we're doing this episode, is to make sure people know about the amazing work that they're doing and hopefully do a little fundraising.
Exactly.
So take us through that week at camp. What kinds of things did you guys do over that week? Was it like fun activities? Did they have education or classes, support group meetings? What did that look like?
They actually, in pretty much everything you said, check, 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 check. There's they have a big swimming pool. And then that was like, the first thing, the kids roasted marshmallows. Then you play, a game to kind of get to know people. And Casey's like famous, and so is her son Tyler, because they're the ones that, they're the big people at camp. And she kind of pushed, kind of like, here's these girls. And so that's how my daughter started making friends. And things we did during the week, there's horse riding. They have a rock wall. And last year, my daughter did the rock wall for the first time. She sat in a chair and she was able to climb up this rock wall, and she made it to the top. And they don't pressure the kids. There's kids that are in wheelchairs all the time. Mine needs a wheelchair for long distances. They have archery, so she was able to actually sit in her wheelchair and do archery. And that's the thing, it's adaptive. It's an adaptive place. It's, for people of all abilities kind of thing. So I'm trying to think. There's a big swing and they have a zip line. Every day you're doing something different. They have like some animals, or kind of things, that they get to see and talk about. There is a support group and educational thing every day. There's something. And then there's fun family game things, that you do game activities together with the families. It brings out a lot of just watching some of the kids. Like last year, there was a girl, she's a kindergartner with chronic pain. We're talking kids from young kids up to the age of, I don't know, I think 18 is the cutoff. So, and I don't know if it's up to 17, then I'm guessing. Yeah, is what, up to 17. There's another girl that's there with her parents. Her parents do all kinds of volunteering. And she's kind of known, Melanie, as she sits at the craft table. And all the kids gravitate towards her because she's just so sweet and kind. And so anytime the kids need a break or whatever, she's over at the craft table. And she'll talk to the kids. And it's fun watching, you get to see some of the kids that are real meek and mild. And then they have a group of friends. And that's the coolest thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. As you guys went through all of that, I was thinking especially about activities like the rock wall. Were there things where you just had to stop and marvel at the fact my kid is actually doing this?
Yeah, there's multiple things because there's doing different things, and she was scared the first year she was scared to do it, and the next year she's like, no, I'm gonna do it. And she's almost, like 3/4 of the way up, and we're watching and people are cheering her on. And that's the other thing, is there's the community and people are very supportive. And that's, the magic, and the camp itself, it's Morgan's camp is where it's at. And the people that run the camp are amazing too. There's just, you got to have a great heart to do any of this kind of stuff. The thing is with, all the volunteers, from the U.S. Pain Foundation, all of them also live with chronic pain. So they know what it's like. And some of them have had it since they were kids as well. And it kind of gives you hope, because then, it's like my daughter, well, she's looking at this, I'm going to say Melanie. Hi, Melanie. She's looking at Melanie, and Melanie is giving my daughter hope. Because before we went to camp, she didn't have a lot of hope, because she was stuck at home most of the time. But now she's able to do other things, and she's seen, wow, Melanie's going to college. Melanie's getting married. Now she has, it gives her hope for the future. Well, it's like the younger kids look at, the older kids, and I can't say enough. It just makes your heart, it's just like, don't cry, and no crying today. But it's a magical thing.
Was there any particular moment where you were just like, wow, this is really life-changing for Lily? Like, was there any particular moment, like while you were there, that just was like a change?
Seeing her come out of her shell more, and seeing her trust other kids. And they don't make fun of each other. They're not, and that's the thing, other kids are supporting each other. So it's not a thing, because they're used to being made fun of, and they're used to things said about them. And, as a parent, you've seen this happen so many times, and seeing this, and then all of a sudden, you're like, oh my gosh, she's got friends. Oh my gosh, there's some of them are in wheelchairs. They use arm braces. They use, and you're just like, oh my gosh. That was one of the big things of, and at the end of the week, you're just wiped out. Probably takes a good month to recover from that, with chronic fatigue and chronic pain. But just knowing that there's somebody else like you out there. That's the main thing. I think that you're not alone.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So after you came home from camp, it's almost like a different world while you're there. So when you come back home, back into normal life, your normal world, did you notice any changes in Lily after the camp, or did things kind of go back to normal? Was she able to keep that confidence in coming out of her shell?
Yeah, she's way more confident than she was. And even from last year to this year, coming into talking about going to camp, her confidence is much higher. And she's looking more at the future, and that's the thing too. Before, it was just pretty bleak, and now we have a future. And because she's got friends that aren't going to be at camp this year. A couple of them weren't there last year because they turned 18, but they went to college. And so, and she's still kept in touch with them a little bit here and there, and that's the thing, is they're continuing on their journey, and this is just a big stepping stone, and it gives them that push, and that, I think it's given her a little bit more drive as well.
That's awesome.
Because that's the thing, you're watching some of the older kids, and they're moving on, and they're going to college and doing other things, and so it's hope, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So what was all this like for you as her mom?
That's a good question. Everybody cries at camp.
What happens at camp stays at camp.
Well, it's just, because it's so emotional.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's just the thing where you're all alone, and then you're not alone. You have a community. And the community is also after camp. And there's a couple of the moms. I'm going to shout out to Perry too, because she's been amazing, just helping, and they help, and they, like, hey, what about this? What about that? And that's the thing, that everybody knows something, and everybody has their own little niche, and other moms are helping other moms. And last year I met a mom that has fibromyalgia. So now her and I talk, right? Because like when you go back to your own community, you don't have that. And it's hard to find other kids like you or other moms like me, because in my world, none of my friends have kids that have chronic illnesses like this. This is debilitating. She's basically homebound most of the time.
Mm-hmm. This is something that we talk a lot about with our work as coaches, right? About how healing it can be just to simply talk to somebody else who gets you. This is another example of that.
Yeah, it definitely is. And even, like as a coach, and that's one of the big things, that one of the first times, even if, the first time I talk to somebody, they're like, wow, I've never talked to anybody else that has fibromyalgia before. I don't know anybody else that has fibromyalgia. Well, and it's the same thing with, these kids that, they don't know anybody else that lives with chronic pain. None of their friends understand.
That's true. That's true. Which is a good segue to my next question for you. As a mom and also as a coach, what do you think that people often misunderstand about kids living with chronic pain conditions like fibromyalgia? We already mentioned one of the big challenges is people think kids shouldn't even have chronic pain, and that's not true.
Well, and I think part of it is they learn to adapt, and they learn to live with it, and they learn that they need to keep going as much as they can. So it'd be just like us, like an adult going out in the work world, we're doing the best we can, but everybody forgets, oh, I keep forgetting that you have, chronic pain or chronic fatigue. And, oh, well, you were fine yesterday. Why aren't you fine today? And, oh, well, you could walk up the stairs yesterday, and today you can't. This is some of the things that we experienced from school. And that's the thing, is like, they look fine. There's the stigma for that. You look fine, you must be fine. You don't have cancer, you don't have diabetes. Oh, chronic pain? Oh, and that's the thing or the chronic fatigue, they don't, oh, I'm tired too. Well, that's not what it is. This is like way beyond that. And I think a lot of the kids learn to adapt to it. And they don't always know how to verbalize things when they're younger. The lucky thing for me was that I knew, because I could see what she was going through, because I've been through it. Because if you're just a parent, just a regular everyday parent without fibro, then it's really going to be a challenge to figure some of this stuff out. So that's why I'm very fortunate that I found the right people, and it's a God thing for me that keeps putting things in my path, and things just keep getting better and better.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And I will just add here, too, for you listening, that we have had a couple of episodes specifically on juvenile fibromyalgia. So we will link to that in today's show notes. You can go to fibromyalgiapodcast.com/181, and you'll be able to find those. I'll also link to some other episodes I've done with Anne, and I even interviewed Anne and Lily for one of those episodes. So we'll have all that in there. One of the things that you were just talking about, learning how to adapt. We hear about masking a lot, usually in the context of autism, right? Masking your autistic traits. But I think we do that with chronic pain and with fatigue and other types of illnesses as well.
Most definitely.
We put on that happy face, and you don't know that I'm in pain and exhausted.
And part of it, I put a lot of this on me because I've masked my fibromyalgia pain and fatigue my whole life. I mean, I've masked this, and I've taught her how to do it without knowing that that's what I was doing. But within the last year, the things that we've been learning and talking about more and more, now she's able to verbalize everything, and we're taking that mask off, and that's a little difficult. This is the year, I think, that I've decided I was going to be authentically Anne. This is me. I have fibromyalgia. I have chronic fatigue. My daughter does, and it's what it is. And no more trying to be something I'm not, as far as, I'm not a normal person kind of thing, because I live with chronic pain every day, right?
Right.
Chronic fatigue every day.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that can also be hard for the people around us, like, especially if you've spent how many years now masking and then the mask comes off and they're like, whoa. What do you think are some of the challenges with that, but also other things that families face when their kid, especially, or a child in the family, maybe their cousin or grandchild, when they develop chronic pain like this? What do you think those challenges are?
Honestly, it's a believability.
Yeah.
How can she be that fatigued when she went to school yesterday? How come, she was able to go swimming, and today, she can't do this? And that's kind of the thing is, and especially with kids, I think that they don't know how to communicate what's going on. And even as adults, with fibro, you've had how hard it's been to talk to people in your life about it, right? Well, these are kids. And that's the thing. You're not expected to have pain. You shouldn't have pain as a kid.
You get to a certain age and you kind of expect it as an adult that something here or there is going to, start bugging you. But as a kid,
that's, you hit your 50s, and you're like, oh man. But no, that's the thing as a kid, because they look normal. They look like all the kids, all the kids look the same, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So thinking about your work as a coach, helping moms, but also specifically helping moms with kids with chronic pain, did attending family camp change the way you think about your work or change how you do your work?
I would say most definitely it did. Just because it's opened my eyes to so many more things and so many more illnesses, and so many more people need grace. They need to be given a lot more grace. We need to give ourselves more grace. Because as a parent, raising a child with chronic illnesses are very, very difficult. And then you have the pressure from the outside world of those that don't understand that, just like, oh, well, this. And, it's like a friend, well, I know, the kid's doctor just dropped him. The doctor dropped the kid, and not dropped physically, but I mean, they're not going to be able to, see this doctor anymore because the doctor doesn't know what to do. Then as a coach, it's made my world bigger. Even at camp, they've taught other things, they'll go over the 504 and the IEP thing for school. And they talk about, supporting yourself. You need to be doing some good things for yourself so you can take care of your child.
And for people who don't know IEP or 504, those are basically like work accommodations for kids at school. It's the individualized education program where you get. Yeah. It's so good to feel like you're not the weird one, that you're not alone, that there are other people out there who've experienced this, that you're not just some bizarre anomaly.
Well, yeah, and that's it. I mean, because my cousins, my friends, their kids are normal. Their kids don't have chronic pain. Their kids don't have migraines, fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue. They don't have any of that. They don't have to deal with that. So it's, like you're not showing up to the family thing, or you sign up to go to the wedding and then you can't go, or you sign up to go to this or that, or you miss out on things. And that's kind of how life is when you have a child with chronic illnesses.
That's right. That's right. So as we kind of start wrapping up here, how would you summarize the reason that programs like Pediatric Pain Warriors and Family Camp, why they matter so much for families dealing with chronic pain? If you could just kind of sum that up for us.
I think the big word is community. It's community, being with people that have been in your shoes before. And, I like to say the thing where I'm, like with fibromyalgia, well, I'm higher up the mountain and I'm trying to help other people that I'm coaching. I'm trying to help those people up that mountain. Well, a lot of these families that have been at camp for a while, that's what they're doing. They've done that to me. They've done that to my daughter. They're helping us up. They're helping us, giving us a helping hand is, kind of the deal. And it's a community. And without, Casey and Tyler, Cashman doing all the stuff that they've done in the U.S. Pain Foundation, this wouldn't even exist. And that's the thing that, it's donations, and it's my favorite nonprofit in the whole world.
Yes, yes. And if you are listening and you want to learn more about Pediatric Pain Warriors, either for yourself or someone you know, or just because they're a great group of people to support, or if you want to donate, we will have all those links in today's show notes as well. Just go to fibromyalgiapodcast.com/181. Pediatric Pain Warriors, as I said at the very beginning, is a program of the U.S. Pain Foundation. But when you make your donation, Anne, isn't there something special that folks need to do to make sure it goes to Pain Warriors?
Yeah, they want to select the pediatric. There's a drop-down box and select pediatric. So and that way it goes to this program.
Specific program instead of just the overall. Perfect. Perfect. My last question for you as we wrap up here, if there is a parent who is listening right now who suspects that their child might be dealing with fibromyalgia or another chronic pain condition or chronic illness, what would you want them to know?
I would want them to know they're not alone. That's the number one thing. And there are people out there that are going through the same thing, similar thing. And that's why I guess, if you got fibromyalgia, go to the International Fibromyalgia Coaching Institute, check it out, check out the podcast. There's likely going to be something that is going to help you with that. If you get other chronic pain things going on, check out the U.S. Pain Foundation. And, if it's for yourself, if it's for, the kids, then check out the Pediatric Pain Warrior program. And they've got all kinds of information, as do you, on the website where you can find different things and resources. That's the big thing, resources. And they can even help you learn how to be an advocate.
Absolutely. I think the most important thing that we can do as patients or as parents of patients is to educate ourselves. The more you know, the more control you have. That's maybe not the right word, but the better decisions you can make, the more involved you can be in your own healthcare. So educating yourself is really high up there on the list of things to do. And we've got some really great resources. And if you've resonated with Anne's story, she is one of the writers for the Fibro Compass, which is our blog and online digital magazine. You can find that at fibrocompass.com. She's one of the writers out there. I will also, like I said, link to several other episodes, either talking about children's pain or my interviews with Anne. And then also, like we've discussed, she is a coach. And Anne, you are taking new clients right now, right?
Yes, I am. Yep.
Awesome.
Yes,
So we'll have a link there to where you can go to schedule a consultation with Anne if you would like to meet with her. I know she would love to help. So thank you again, Anne. Any last words you have for our folks listening?
I just want to thank you guys for selecting, because I know that this was, we voted, and this was the Pediatric Pain Warrior program was selected, and I want to say thanks for that. So.
Yes, we did. We had folks in our IFCI community all nominate different nonprofits to be highlighted during our Podcasthon episode. And then once we had the list of nominees, we all voted, and the Pain Warriors program, I don't know, blew everybody else out of the water. It was almost unanimous.
Well, not there too. That's, because they've seen what this program has done for me and for my daughter. And that's the thing that, just remember, you guys aren't alone, and there's resources out there. Don't take no for an answer. Just keep advocating and keep finding the answers for your kids. And that's the name of the game, I guess.
Yes, 100%. I agree. So that will wrap up today's episode. As I've mentioned earlier, in our show notes, we'll have all kinds of goodies for you. fibromyalgiapodcast.com/181. We will also include a link where you can go learn more about Podcasthon. As I said at the beginning, shows all over the world are highlighting nonprofit organizations this week, this one specific week in March. And there are loads of us doing this. So we'll have a link where you can go learn more about the other organizations that have been highlighted. And we will see you back here next week for our next regular episode. Thanks, Anne.
Thank you, Tammy.
And that wraps up another episode of the Fibromyalgia Podcast. I'm your coach, Tammy Stacklehouse. For daily doses of hope, inspiration, and practical advice, come hang out with me on Facebook. Visit facebook.com/fibrocoach to find my personal coaching page and connect with me directly. To find the show notes, additional resources, or to schedule a consultation with me or one of my coaches, visit fibromyalgiapodcast.com.